The first time I realized my world was a lie, it wasn't dramatic. There were no raised voices, no shattered objects, no storm raging outside my window. It was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that seeps into your bones and makes you feel smaller than you ever thought possible. I'm Madeline Rivers, and I had believed in a life built on trust, love, and shared dreams. A husband who whispered promises of forever. A home filled with laughter. A heart that believed in him more than anything else. His name was Julian Kane. I remember that day vividly. Sunlight filtering through the blinds, the faint smell of coffee in the kitchen, the soft brush of his lips against my cheek as he left for work. Everything seemed perfect. Everything was a lie. I found out the truth from a message I wasn't supposed to see, a simple text glowing on his phone. "Can't wait to see you tonight. She has no idea." Those words burned into my chest. My hands shook as I stared at them, my mind refusing to understand. She has no idea. Who? And then it hit me. I was her. I was the woman who had no idea. Julian had been living a double life, not just lying to me, but to everyone. The man I loved, trusted, and built my life around had secrets buried deeper than I could have ever imagined. I felt hollow, shattered, betrayed. Every memory, every whispered "I love you," every promise of forever, all poisoned in a single instant. But amid the heartbreak, a spark ignited inside me. It was anger, yes, but also clarity. I was not weak. I wouldn't let myself crumble. That night, I left the house quietly, my heart pounding in rhythm with my footsteps. I didn't know where I was going, only that I needed space. Space to think, to breathe, to understand the truth that had lived in the shadows for far too long. In the days that followed, I watched him. Every move, every meeting, every lie, each new discovery made my blood boil. Secret messages, whispered phone calls, private meetings with her. A woman whose name I didn't know, but whose presence had infected every part of my life. And that's when I realized my strength would not come from forgiveness. It would come from action, from patience, from strategy. I started quietly gathering evidence, financial records, emails, whispered conversations. Every piece of deception became a weapon in my hands. I was no longer the woman who cried in silence. I was Madeline Rivers, and I was done being his victim. Then came my chance at a business dinner. Julian would be there, surrounded by colleagues and her. I arrived calm, composed, radiant in a deep emerald dress. When his eyes met mine, I saw it, the flicker of unease. He thought I didn't know. He thought I was still fragile, still blind, still his to manipulate. But he was wrong. That night, I made my first move, a subtle conversation with one of his business associates, just enough to plant a seed of doubt. A quiet whisper that would grow, twisting through the fragile web of lies he had built. When I walked home that night, my mind was racing, but my heart was steady. The pain, the betrayal, the heartbreak. They had transformed into something new. Power. For the first time since discovering his betrayal, I felt control. Not over Julian, but over myself. Over the story I would tell. Over the woman I was becoming. I thought I was weak, but Julian's lies had shown me otherwise. The days that followed were a delicate dance. Every move I made had to be calculated, every word carefully chosen. Julian Kane was cunning and a master of charm and deception, but even the best masks have cracks. I intended to find them all. I began by digging deeper into his world, quietly reaching out to former colleagues, friends, and business partners who might hold pieces of the puzzle he had carelessly left exposed. Each conversation brought a new revelation. Secret accounts, hidden properties, and evidence of manipulation that stretched far beyond our marriage. At times it was overwhelming, but the shock and grief that had once consumed me had transformed into something else: focus, strength, and a burning hunger for justice that eclipsed every trace of fear. I remember the night vividly when I confronted the first undeniable proof, a series of emails between Julian and another woman. They revealed not just betrayal, but a carefully constructed plan to isolate me, to make me appear weak, unstable, dependent. I stared at the glowing screen, my hands trembling. but my mind was sharper than ever. I would not let him win. Not this time. My first public move came during a charity gala where Julian was scheduled to speak. I attended not as a victim, but as a woman in complete control of her destiny, radiant, poised, and untouchable. Every step I took, every smile I offered was deliberate, a silent declaration of power. Julian spotted me almost instantly. His confident stride faltered for a fraction of a second, and that was all I needed. In that hesitation, I saw the first crack in his armor. He thought I would stay broken, silent, invisible. He underestimated me. Behind the scenes, I moved like a shadow, subtle, strategic, unstoppable. I planted seeds of doubt among his associates, shared just enough truth to make them question his integrity. Nothing direct, nothing traceable, just whispers that would grow into storms. And then there was Celine Ward, the woman he thought was his secret. Beautiful, confident, and completely unaware that she was standing in the middle of a web I was quietly spinning around them both. When she reached out to me, pretending it was a casual meeting, I agreed. She thought she was in control. She thought I was still the naive wife, but as we sat across from each other, I smiled and said softly, "You don't know what you're dealing with, Celine. Julian Kane is not the man you think he is, and I'm not the woman you expect." Her laughter faltered. I saw the flicker of fear, the moment doubt took root. That was all I needed, because doubt is where destruction begins. Over the next few weeks, I executed the next stage of my plan. Strategic legal moves, discreet financial leaks, and whispers that found their way to the right ears. Slowly, Julian's empire began to crumble. Deals fell through. Investors hesitated. His confidence turned into panic. And then came the call. His voice, once so sure, now trembling. "Madeline, what are you doing? You don't understand the consequences." "I understand perfectly," I replied, my voice calm and steady. "You betrayed me. You lied to me. And now the truth comes out. Your web of deceit ends tonight." He tried to reason, to charm, to twist the narrative one last time, but I had outgrown the woman he once deceived. "You thought betrayal could break me," I said quietly. "You were wrong. It only made me stronger." That night, I finalized the final act of my plan, a confrontation that would expose both Julian and Celine, stripping away every illusion they'd built. As I stood by the window overlooking the city skyline, the lights shimmering like distant stars, I felt an unfamiliar calm. The storm that had once shattered me had now shaped me into something unbreakable. I was no longer the woman who cried in the dark. I was Madeline Rivers, a woman reborn through fire, forged in betrayal, and destined to rise higher than they ever imagined. And as the city slept beneath me, I whispered to the night, "He broke me, he lied, but from that betrayal, I found my strength. And he will see it, every single piece of it,